All right. Hey, we're going to talk about where Oklahoma landed in the latest college football playoff rankings, and then we'll talk about Oklahoma's latest commitment in the number one ranked 2027 recruiting class later in the show, coming up here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And again, thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network in the business. Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners, after their big win over the Alabama Crimson Tide, jumped 3 spots to number 8 in the latest college football playoff rankings.
It looks good to me, John. So when I'm looking at the poll here, I'm seeing very interesting situation. So Tech, of course, has a conference championship. Oregon's playing USC this weekend, so there's going to be a challenge there. Notre Dame, they're probably going to float around 9 to 10. I actually kind of expect them to drop one more, especially if Bama wins out and wins in the SEC championship game. Because so far they will go as long as they win out and Texas A&M wins out, because they'll have I think they have the better record in the one-loss column in conference play. So
they'll have that tiebreaker over Georgia.
Yeah, tiebreak over Georgia and over Ole Miss, because their schedule has a higher win percentage, right? So because of that, as long as A&M wins out, they win out, they play, and I think Bama can take A&M out in the conference championship game. Mm-hmm. They do that, they're guaranteed to jump, and that should even boost Oklahoma even more or whatnot for that. So I'm here for it. Let's just make it happen.
There's still some room to move. I'm content though if they've landed a number 8 spot, because if you're number 8, guess what you get to do? You get to host a first round playoff game.
That's what I want.
And
I would like to host a playoff game.
Super exciting. And whether it's Notre Dame or maybe a USC or maybe one of your historic rivals like the Miami Hurricanes, I know not really a rival, but so many national championships and were decided in the Orange Bowl between Oklahoma and Miami back in the day. So that could be a fun one as well. So, and that's assuming Miami's able to get into the top 10, but there is still so much movement that can occur between the final 2 weeks of the regular season, conference championship weekend. What we're seeing right now with the playoff rankings could look completely different by the time we get the playoff bracket actually set.
Yep. And that's the sucky part about everybody's schedule, is that a lot of teams, for example, like a Miami, who plays a really tough non-con, that really helps them to be able to move up and down in the rankings because of their non-con schedule. If they don't win enough games in conference, that it drops them. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, they're now stuck in the area of they won't even play for the conference championship there. So there's a chance they could move all the way up and be eligible for the playoffs and not even win their conference. It's just that discrepancy is tough. It's tough when you're not going to play any tough teams. I mean, looking at the ACC now, Miami is 5th in their conference because they're 4-2 in conference play, losing games they shouldn't have, but winning some solid non-cons. They got SMU, Pittsburgh, Virginia, and Georgia Tech all ahead of them. And SMU and Pittsburgh are both 7-3. So they have a chance of actually playing in the conference championship and winning it and getting possibly pushed into the playoffs because of that. And, that's going to be an ugly situation.
Yeah. And if that happens, the ACC is only going to get one team in.
Yeah.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but that's going to be the case. You could say the same even for the Big 12. Now, they've got a little bit better shot at getting 2 teams in with BYU and Utah, but we'll see. Still, it's fascinating, because Miami's got that win over Notre Dame, but they're 4 spots behind the Irish. And again, that's because Miami lost to some teams that they shouldn't have lost to. Notre Dame, their 2 losses are to number 13 Miami and number 3 Texas A&M. So it's not like that they've lost to, some poor opponents. it's a good team now. A lot could change between Notre Dame and USC, and what happens there, that could certainly have a big impact on what happens the rest of the year.
Yeah, and it's crazy because Georgia Tech dropped really far after that loss. Their loss to Louisville, to the fact that they're 6-1. I mean, they're 9-1 and they're 16th in the country.
Jeez,
That's wild to me. But at the same time, you can't lose games that you should be losing. That's just the rules. The rules. You lose a game that you're not supposed to lose. That's what happens to you. You get pushed all the way to the bottom. But honestly, the setup today also helps Oklahoma a little bit. You got Missouri there at 22. Mm-hmm. You've got Tennessee at 20, Bama at 10. Your losses are to number 5 and 17. You beat number 18. Things look good for you going forward.
You're in really good shape. And again, it comes down to everything that our fans have been saying, all the everydayers have been saying, just win. If you go win your football games, you control your own destiny. You write your own story. You determine whether or not you're going to be in the college football playoff if you beat Missouri and LSU. If you lose one of those two games, then you're relying on a lot of help from a lot of different sources to see if you can get in at one of those last playoff spots. It's going to be so convoluted. I'm not banking on that. Go win your football games, take care of business, and you'll be in good position. You could climb as high as, 6 maybe. Like, that's not too big of a stretch. I don't think you end up jumping Ole Miss, and I don't think Ole Miss moves off that 5 spot. I think they're probably pretty well locked into that.
Unless they lose the Egg Bowl.
Well, yes. If they lose the Egg Bowl, which I just don't think they're going to, because Mississippi State can't stop anybody.
I like to believe that too.
Kejuan Lacey might run for 300 yards just like Ahmad Hardy just did.
Right.
So I feel like they're pretty well locked into number 5. Georgia, unless they can make the SEC title game, feels like they're pretty well locked into number 4. And then it's unless A&M loses, but then they could just flip-flop A&M and Alabama. Like if Bama goes and wins the SEC title game, they could move Alabama in front of Georgia all the way up to number 3 because Bama beat Georgia, and Texas A&M could drop all the way back. Maybe not all the way back, but 3 back behind Ole Miss at least.
I don't see. Well, and I'm gonna be honest. I think that if A&M loses in the SEC championship game, that A&M still stays top 5.
Okay.
Because it'll be their only loss of the season.
Yeah.
They went undefeated in the regular season, and I think they will reward them for an undefeated year. I know it's weird, but some of that stuff does matter to them, especially because of who they beat to get to that point. They would have beaten a few top-ranked teams. Yeah. So that helps. Losing to Bama winning just helps to make sure that ensures they're definitely getting a spot. But I don't think that they would let them jump Oklahoma because it's an extra game. Now, I was thinking about this too. I was talking to a buddy of mine about this today, that if Oklahoma had the chance, if the cards played to where they played in it, I know a lot of people have said that you would rather the rest, right? You'd rather them not play. But if you think about it and you look at the math, if Oklahoma did make it, and this is all hypothetical because there's about a 0.001% chance because they have to require everybody losing for that to happen. Oklahoma makes that, John, they would still have 3 weeks of rest because you would be a top 4 spot. Then that means that you would rest for 3 weeks. Now, if Oklahoma closes and you have just about everything work out just as it is today, Oklahoma's going to host and they still only get 3 weeks. So it's kind of the same. You just play one extra game that for some they feel like can be, point on point meaningless. I get it. But it would sound nice to say that you won the conference your second year in the conference. But at the same time, the bigger play here for me is you just, like I said, close it out. You'll get your 3 weeks. You'll host a game. I'm just curious to see who shifts things around. Because it's a possibility, man. Like you said, this is going to be a wild 4 weeks.
Yeah, it really will be. And I think we're going to see some movement amongst SEC teams because Texas could very well beat Texas A&M. You never know. Like, you don't know what game you're going to get from Texas and from Arch, but there's a chance that they could actually beat the Aggies.
Oof.
So that would create a whole lot more confusion and complications with the playoff rankings if that were to happen. So Aggies, just don't do it. Don't let Texas
screw it up, bro.
Don't mess it up. You got one job.
Bro. You got one job.
I'm not rooting for you. I'm never rooting for you. But I'm telling you, you have one job here.
Arkansas could do the funniest thing this weekend.
Arkansas could do the funniest thing and then make that final game of the season less important. But all right. So, Jay, we got a big time commitment on Tuesday. This dude's a player. I know a lot of fans are looking at that star rating and thinking, I don't know.
Trust me. Learn a lesson.
This dude is a baller.